Thank you, Joe. All right, for a national perspective, welcome Connor Murnane, Director of Engagement and Mobilization for the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, better known, you all know, as FIRE. Connor has been a great partner with Jefferson Council, and we're delighted to have him here.
You know, you put me in a tough spot, Jim. I was first grumbling I had to follow Professor Stam, and now I have to follow Professor Stam and Joel Gardner, and I'm the last thing, and before these folks get a break, right? Yeah, so let's see if I can do the impossible. So good afternoon, everyone. It's fantastic to see so many UVA graduates dedicated to advancing free expression and academic freedom on campus. Before I get started, I want to thank Bert Ellis, Tom Neal, Jim Bacon, and the rest of the Jefferson Council for bringing conversations like the one we're having today to UVA. I'm Connor. My name's up there. I work for FIRE. Like Jim mentioned, I'm the Director of Engagement and Mobilization. Before that, I started at FIRE to work with alumni like all of you. So a little brief background in my organization. If you don't know, FIRE is the leading defender of First Amendment rights, both on and off campus. For over 2 decades, we've made it a point to defend speech regardless of viewpoint or identity. If the expression is protected by the First Amendment, FIRE defends it, period. It ends there. We've never have, and we never will, comment on the content of the speech, only its status under the First Amendment. So you may be asking, what's the situation at UVA? And by all of FIRE's metrics, I was here last year talking about this, speech code assessment, free speech survey rankings, case history, UVA on paper looks like one of the better universities for free speech. Although if that were truly the case, we wouldn't be here today. So if the codes and the data look all right, but we're seeing a problem on campus, we have to ask ourselves, where is this issue coming from and why policy changes alone haven't improved the campus culture. One area many higher education advocates point to as driving the campus censorship crisis are DEI offices. But even if we successfully dismantle the DEI bureaucracy on campus, I worry we still wouldn't solve the true problem. Focusing on DEI or wokeness might even be a distraction from the real issue. Students, faculty, and the useful administrators, they don't understand the values of free expression in a democratic society, and universities aren't teaching it to the next generation either. So it falls on us. We have to persuade them, we have to empower them to support more speech, and we have to teach them why it matters. Thankfully, alumni are the best positioned group to help win the fight for a free speech culture on campus. And I chose that phrase pretty carefully, fight for a free speech culture, rather than, win the culture war or something along those lines. Because in my opinion, and I'd be happy to be proven wrong, I don't believe culture wars are winnable. Even if you somehow win a culture war in theory, what do you exactly get? You get to send half your compatriots home defeated and unwavering in their opposition to you. That doesn't seem like a good outcome to me. And it creates this us versus them mentality that's not conducive to lasting reform. To create that free speech culture, we have to reach across the aisle. We have to convince those with viewpoints different from our own that speech, not silence, is the answer to our conflicts. So for the rest of this talk, I want to look past the more sinister nature and perplexing components of DEI programming. Professor Stam brought up diversity statement mandates and hiring and promotion. That's atrocious. I want to focus on the original philosophy behind DEI and what made the creation of DEI as we see it today possible on campus, and finally how alumni like you all can help. So when I sat down to write this, the first thing I needed to grapple with was what created this explosion on campus, and Professor Stam and Joel went through a brilliant rundown, so thank you guys for making my job easier. But it didn't just poof into existence. Some pre-existing condition had to create a perceived need for it on campuses across the country, and I asked myself this hypothetical, and I'd like for all of you to think on it as well. If every single DEI office were to close and each bureaucrat cleaned out their desk, would the fight for free speech on campus be over? I don't believe so. I don't think a single student, a single faculty member, or remaining administrator would have their opinion changed about the value of speech on campus and off of campus. A sweeping removal of DEI offices would be like cutting out a tumor and assuming you're cancer-free without pursuing continued treatment and preventative care. DEI offices are less a cause of censorship and, in my mind, more of a symptom of a culture of censorship, although, as we all know, DEI offices can definitely aid in the promotion of speech restrictions. Bottom line, something was festering on campus and, in the culture on campus that created this demand for DEI that long predates what we recognize as some, diversity czar or, VP of insert sustainability and other, words there. So even if, the general public is aware of this as well, it's not just us in the room. In a Pew Research Center poll, 61% of Americans said they believe higher education in the United States is going in the wrong direction. And among those, 81% said that one reason that it has lost its way is that, quote, colleges and universities are too concerned about protecting students from views they might find offensive. So we all see it. Why is nothing changing? And a positive feedback loop between student censorship and DEI bureaucracies has cemented itself on campus. Colleges reward students who are budding social justice warriors in high school by accepting them. Then, these students arrive at college primed with these attitudes and demand that the administrators shield them from the kinds of non-physical harm which they have been taught to believe in. DEI admin often oblige, reaffirming the students' victim narratives. This cycle repeats because, as the Wall Street Journal editorial board correctly pointed out, quote, DEI officials have a vested interest in ensuring that the grievances of identity politics continue, lest these offices have no reason to exist. Concepts of wokeness might fly above my head and yours, but they mean something to college students today, and that's the audience we must reach if we want to see progress on campus. So let me read you a few quotes that FIRE collected in our college free speech ranking survey from UVA students. Quote, during class discussions, it is sometimes difficult to fully express my opinion due to the potential gravity of my words, end quote. Another one, class of 2025, my apologies. Quote, being a part of a minority group, when I am in the presence of majority white people, it is sometimes difficult to share my perspective as I feel those around me can't relate or won't take time to listen, end quote. And a final recent grad, quote, I feel like the majority of students on the grounds are just scared of voicing any opinion that doesn't fit as politically correct. We need to meet these students on their intellectual turf. Ceding some ground, we can show them that concepts of free speech are not entirely at odds with what they believe. In reality, core values of freedom of expression, viewpoint diversity, and inclusion strengthen each other, protecting the right to speech, counter-speech, protest, counter-protest, and any other nonviolent form of protest and expression you can name. College students are much better off when a true variety of experiences are added to the classroom debate, liberal and conservative, communist, Marxist, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to read. That is true inclusion. And this is a message we need to pass to students. The movements they care about are not only made possible by free speech, they are driven by freedom of speech. Thankfully, alumni across the country and here in Charlottesville are beginning to speak up. If the administration is unwilling to preserve and teach free expression, then it is up to you all. The most permanent fixtures on college campus are alumni. You're going to outlive any, batch of four-year students, hopefully four-year graduating students. You're going to outlive, the tenure of administrators and some faculty. So the question remains, how can we reinvigorate freedom of speech and ideological diversity in the midst of a growing and woefully ineffective DEI bureaucracy? I believe the answer is not by attacking DEI, but by demonstrating the power of free discourse. Defeating DEI through legislating away their funding, banning their departments, or persecuting their ideologies will only devolve into a tit-for-tat battle of censors. We can only fight the censorship we see from DEI offices by convincing the small L liberal-minded people, students, faculty across the board, within private and public institutions, that they should stand up to and resist it. All of this is just another way of saying that the key to stopping, wokeism, as we define it and see it today, is a reaffirmation of classical liberalism. It sounds ridiculously simple when I write it like that, but it's, the execution is hard. And as we continue to work together to build back this culture of free speech here at UVA and across the country, we have to consider that audience we're trying to reach. Fighting the woke might score points among my friends and yours, but it doesn't convince any of the persuadables who don't yet know what they think about free speech. If anything, by focusing on wokeness, we help the illiberally minded justify their claims against us and the principles for which we stand. It is to the good fortune of UVA that it has a group such as the Jefferson Council. But I want to stress that, be careful how you go about this fight. Be careful how you, talk about students and engage with students. And let me just outline 3 simple ways that you all can continue building this free speech culture on campus. 1, insist UVA teaches values of free expression from day one. We're all here because we value it, but students don't. It's clear that colleges expect students to arrive on campus with knowledge about the importance of free speech and academic freedom, and they don't. This is leading to a profound mismatch between student expectations, the reality of a liberal education, and democratic society. Freshman orientation must include free speech training. Fire has a freshman orientation ready to go. Let's bring it to UVA. 2, demand UVA collects serious data on campus censorship and openness toward free expression. Every institution of higher education should remain vigilant about potential threats to free speech and gather information about its campus climate instead of claiming other schools are like that, but not us in Charlottesville. A transparent survey of a large proportion of the campus community can provide vital information that would allow administrators to make informed decisions. Number 3, stop writing blank checks. Alumni must begin focusing their financial investments in their alma mater toward liberty-oriented initiatives. Donations can have a much greater impact on the climate if they're earmarked towards scholarships, the Jefferson Council, speaker series, independent academic programs, student groups. Bottom line is, look at the speakers the Jefferson Council has brought to campus. Wouldn't have happened if you guys weren't here. Let's keep it up. And there are plenty of other opportunities. I think my email's behind me. It is. If you want to discuss any of them, shoot me an email. We haven't lost the battle yet, and the fight to fix the campus culture will be long. It's going to take a Jefferson Council on every campus to get the job done, but I'm honored to be here with you and fighting this fight with you all.